love the J. Jonah Jameson on the show, and I'd love to see an episode with Spider Slayer. So that's something to throw out. But my question is, in the Marvel Universe, some of the characters on the show have died, and I wonder if that's even in the thought process, or if that can be done during the show, that we might lose some characters.
Well, we killed off Ben Parker. You know, no one's safe, but also we're not in a hurry. You know, this is still Pete's junior year of high school. We've done 2 seasons that went from September to March of his junior year. We're not in a rush. So I don't want to make it sound like, hey, everyone's safe, but I also don't want to create the impression that that, you know, we're trying to shove everything that ever happened in Spidey's career into his junior year of high school. I mean, if we get enough seasons, there are a lot of stories we want to tell, but you know, I don't need them all to take place right away. So there's a little bit of patience involved.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the show you kind of mentioned earlier is how the fight scenes are very long and very dynamic. And so I was wondering, was that something that you were planning from the very beginning? And then what's the inspiration, and how do you go about choreographing those fights?
I'm not sure if that's what Greg was planning from the beginning, but that's what I was planning from the beginning. I worked on other action shows, and the action seems to be one of the first things cut for time, and I didn't want that to happen on this one. Besides the great stories and the great acting and great characters, I wanted this to be a super fun show to watch. Those were the toughest times for Greg and I when we timed out the storyboards, and we would be 2 minutes long in figuring out what's going to stay and what's not going to stay. And he had what he had to stay in, I had what I wanted in, and we sort of really agreed with each other there. And it happened again when the film came back. And how we choreograph it, it's really hard to explain how. You know, like I'm better at doing it than explaining it. But you know, one, we get inspiration from the script by the location that it's set at, and try to have Spider-Man use the environment. Villains use the environment and their powers in different ways. For example, if you remember Electro's first episode, the climax is on the tower. And how do we get him there? In the script, he climbs the tower, and we thought, God, you know what, let's have him shoot the ground and shoot up. Just a little thing like that. And, you know, Hong Kong movies are a big inspiration for these action sequences as well. And I just want to also give a little more credit to the storyboard artists and the directors for that. And, you know, there are homages that are written in, and there's homages, the visual homages that we just put in that aren't written in. You know, the obvious ones are the Spidey Sense Tingle that Steve Ditko came up with, the Spidey webs in the sky at the end of each episode, and then, the half mask. Greg and I love to check out the forums and see what the fans are saying about the show, and I just noticed some fans finally saw the posing from the lizard fight from a past comic book that served as some of our inspiration. So I don't know if that really explains how, but...
Yeah, that's great. And all those little things are what make this show so good. So keep it up.
Hey, I was just wondering if in like future seasons, do you plan to bring Peter Parker out of high school and into college or in the future, anything like that?
Again, given enough seasons or direct-to-DVD movies, long-term, absolutely, but again, not in a hurry. You know, season 3, if we get it, would finish off his junior year, and then, you know, subsequent seasons would start his senior year. So we're not going to race through it just so that we can get him to college. You know, we're going to enjoy this period in his life because it's very rich. It was very rich when Stan and Steve did it, and we're pretty proud of what we've done so far. So again, we're not going to race ahead. We're happy playing in this playground.
Yeah, it's a great show as it is, so.
Thank you.
Guys, we only have time for a few more questions, so let's make them count.
Wow, now I feel bad. Can you tell us what the deal with Norman's wife is?
No. We have a lot of plans for Emily, and again, those plans are somewhat dependent on us getting a third season. But with Norman out of the, well, I can't say anything. Yeah, no, I'm just not saying anything.
We're not in Canada, sorry.
I was wondering if we're going to see more of the Vulture in the rest of the season, as well as if we'll see him in his traditional green outfit.
I would love to see more of the Vulture. After that first episode, such a great design and performance. He was funny, and I've been bugging Greg to put him.
I like my jetpack.
I have a question for Greg. How difficult was it to try to adapt all 40 years of Spider-Man into one show? Did you have personal favorite arcs you want to do, or ones you had to set aside, or what?
There were definitely, favorite stories that we wanted to do. One aired last week. The John Jameson, Colonel Jupiter story was always one of a favorite of mine. I mean, that issue is very incredibly memorable because that's the issue where we first see Mary Jane Watson. We had done that part of that issue already in season 1, but I love the whole issue, so I was very excited to do the rest of it. There are other arcs, the Master Planner arc, which you guys have seen, that we really wanted to do with its iconic imagery. So I definitely have some favorites from both the Lee Ditko era and the Lee Romita Sr. era that I wanted to and still want to cover. But again, it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, like you said, we've got, from 1962 to 2009, there's a lot of great material. We've barely scratched the surface of all the things we'd like to do.
Guys, probably 2 more questions.
Hello, panel. Greg, Gargoyle is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's great, yeah. But for the last season that aired on ABC, what happened? I know you weren't satisfied with it.
Well, I didn't work on it the last season, so what happened is that they replaced the entire crew. They kept the cast, but they literally replaced the entire crew of the series. Vic worked on Gargoyles, and we were all kind of booted, and so it was a very different show.
Any why?
I honestly, to this day, I don't really know that I understand why.
Last question. Okay. And I know a lot of things have changed already, but how willing or eager are you guys to deviate from the original Spider-Man mythos? And as sort of a more specific corollary to that, is there any chance that we might finally get a version where Gwen's storyline doesn't follow the normal path?
I'm extremely interested in being faithful to the core of the Spider-Man mythos. That not necessarily to every detail, not necessarily to every aspect of it. I mean, Shashan's a perfect example because Shashan in the comics was a refugee from the Vietnam War, and because we're set in 2009, that didn't seem to make a lot of sense for us anymore. But we still tried to preserve what mattered most about Shashan's character. Talking about Gwen specifically, again, I'm not going to spoil anything for seasons that don't yet exist, but what is important to us is the core of the mythos, not necessarily all the specific details. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So guys, we're going to